Preparing to live stream. Okay. Welcome to the Baltimore SharePoint Users Group. Soon to undergo a rebrand fairly soon. But for those of you who can hear my voice, I'm Shadidi Laser, and we have what shapes up to be an outstanding session on tap for tonight. Thank you for tuning in virtually. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get into the session announcements for this month. So let's see here. Okay. So what is Baltimore Spug? And so the story goes, we've been around for quite some time. When it comes to community-based learning institutions in the state of Maryland, we are the longest running focused on Microsoft technologies. By the numbers, over 5,200 Microsoft focused professionals have been trained and or certified through resources and partners within our network. In a whopping 25 Microsoft companies, let's say, or practices have been started within, let's say, members that have within our ranks. So I'm very happy about that number because it helps to fuel the tech ecosystem within the greater Baltimore and greater Maryland region. As we rebrand, we'll be focused more on a greater footprint throughout Maryland and different events at not just greater Baltimore, but throughout Maryland as well. We've been around long enough, so we need to try some new things. And so, very proud of the progress that we've made with Microsoft's continued expansion into cloud technologies. We're going to follow that as well. So, it may not be the Baltimore SharePoint users group, but more of a broad focus as we do allow Power Platform and other technologies to be discussed, let's say for the past year, and we'll continue on with our branding and overall uh, uh, appearance to match that. Special thanks to the great folks at ProObject. When we were meeting in person, ProObject was the location 1 mile away from the Maryland Live Casino, Arundel Mills Mall. Special thanks to Ted Staley. For many years, would stay after his shift and make sure that logistics were taken care of, starting with making sure people got into the building. And so ProObject has continued to support us. If you are looking for a position in, let's say, the Microsoft ecosystem with the focus on SharePoint, Microsoft 365, um, it is important to reach out to TM Staley at proobject.com as we move along. As far as community news and notes, there are some community days events that are coming up. I want you to go to communitydays.org and take a look at the events that are coming up and the different uh, platforms that are being represented, from Dynamics to Power Platform, etc., to SharePoint to Microsoft 365, and so communitydays.org. We are opening the door for call for speakers throughout fiscal year 2024. And so, if you have an interest in delivering sessions for the Baltimore SharePoint Users Group, then let's get in touch. So I'm going to go through a few of the types of sessions that are welcomed for our group. So technical deep dive, which can be going beneath the surface, covering a demo of some sort, and walking through your experiences with that platform or technology. Break fix, meaning you had a problem or requirement and the solution that you put in place in order to solve it, or lesson learned. So you may have deployed a solution or implemented a new update of some sort, and some of the lessons learned and the path that you took, troubleshooting you had to do in order to do so. Okay, so in terms of session ground rules, once we announce our featured speaker, I will be in the background. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A, not the chat. Use the Q&A, not the chat, to ask any questions. I will be viewing the chat or the Q&A to make sure that your question is presented to our featured speaker. And so that goes for if you're on social media, you can post under the video that you're watching from, and I'll be watching. I have multiple screens here, and so I will find your question. No question goes unanswered, and make sure that it is covered. This session is being recorded and will be featured within Instant Vintage, which is our on-demand replay of classic Baltimore Spug sessions that sometimes it's good to go back and hear a session again just to get a different perspective or to learn something new. And now, without further delay, this was last month's slide, forgive me. We are welcoming a featured member of Baltimore's SharePoint Saturday Brain Trust, and he has helped to organize many events in the past. This gentleman is a multiple time Microsoft MVP, published author, and all around great community leader. I bring to you Prashant G. Bhoyar.
Thank you, Shadid, for the warm introduction and welcome everyone. Let me start by sharing my screen. Okay, share screen, and I would like to share my entire screen. All right. Okay. Can you let me know if you can see my screen?
Yes, I can see
Okay,
it clearly. Yes.
perfect. And let me just adjust few things here as well so that I can see uh, the entire thing as well. All right, perfect. So as Shadid mentioned, um, I used to be very active with Baltimore SharePoint user group back in the day when I was living in Maryland. So I was living in Maryland till 2015, and then I moved to Northern Virginia. Still, even like before COVID pandemic, we organized a lot of community conferences, especially SharePoint Saturday Baltimore event. I think if my memory serves me right, the last SharePoint Saturday we organized was somewhere in October in 2019. And I think after that, then, or sorry, 2018. And I think then we had
2018, yes.
we had 1 year break, and then pandemic started, and now we are all virtual. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Shadid and our other team member Enrique for welcoming to this wonderful community, and also teaching me how to organize community events, how to organize user group meetings, and also how to organize a big event like SharePoint Saturday. So without further ado, today I'll be talking about how you can create custom copilots and using some of the services in Microsoft ecosystem. Most of the time we'll be spending be talking about Copilot Studio. And Copilot Studio, it's a new service that Microsoft has launched during Ignite last year. And basically, its earlier name was Power Virtual Agent. But then rebranded this product as Copilot Studio, and along with it, they also added some additional features with it. And let me see. Okay. And this is going to be the agenda for today. We'll start with why copilots, like why we had to invest time creating custom copilots. I will talk about some of the copilots are there in Microsoft ecosystem. I will also have a slide about Azure AI services, because if you really want to have a copilot, you have to integrate your copilot with AI services. And then we'll also talk about the big buzzword is in the industry these days, like ChatGPT, or how we can use ChatGPT like services via Azure OpenAI service. Then we'll also talk about Copilot Studio. We'll have lots of demos. And towards the end, we'll talk about the key takeaways. And even though I mentioned Q&A towards the end, feel free to ask your questions at any time. As Shadid mentioned, he will be monitoring the chat. And I also have two monitors, so I'll be looking for that as well. All right. So with that, I always have this slide. No matter what kind of technical topic I'm covering, the technology or tool does not matter. What really matters is what kind of problem you're trying to solve. So right now in this session, we're talking about Copilot Studio, but your end user doesn't care whether I'm using Power Platform or whether using SharePoint or Teams or Copilot Studio. What they really care is uh, what is the business problem, and how this new application that you're building with the tool of your choice is going to help me in terms of solving that business problem. So I don't know how many of you have watched the keynote of Microsoft Ignite conference last year. So Microsoft Ignite is Microsoft flagship conference. It happens every year somewhere in October, November timeframe. This year also, I think it's going to happen in November 2024. And during that keynote, typically Microsoft leadership, especially the CEO, gives you an indication where exactly they are going to invest heavily in the next few years. So if you remember back in 2014, 2013, during the keynote of Ignite, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella that time said that Microsoft is now the cloud first, mobile first company. And if you see some of the innovation that came from Microsoft in the next 8 to 9 years, we're all focused on how we can take the customers from on-premise to cloud. That's the time when Microsoft 65 or Office 65 was launched in 2016. They launched Power Platform. And during the keynote of last year's Ignite, Satya mentioned that Microsoft is now the Copilot company. It's a big statement. And also it's giving you like a fundamental shift that is happening within Microsoft in terms of what kind of products they will be launching and where exactly most of the innovation will happen. So Microsoft is investing heavily in terms of launching copilots out of the box or off the shelf. For example, Copilot for Microsoft 65, Copilot for Power Platform, GitHub Copilot, Copilot for Azure or Microsoft Fabric. However, they're also investing in tools and technologies that we can use so that we can also create our own custom copilots. And copilots are nothing but a new chatbots with some additional functionality. And one of the tool that Microsoft ecosystem that we can use to create custom copilot is Microsoft Copilot Studio. And if you ask me, the best programming language is a natural language. For example, if I had to communicate to you that, hey, I would like to, implement this particular function using using the programming language of my choice, most likely I'm just going to be explaining you like what's the flow and how exactly I'm going to build it. I will not basically just reading the source code for you, or let's say a C# code or Python code for you. And that's the whole idea behind the concept of Copilot. And Copilot, Microsoft launched Copilot, like their first foray in Copilot was via GitHub. GitHub Copilot was launched in year 2021, and in the next 2 years, they did the survey, and there a survey came out last year where they identified that the 40% of the code in GitHub was actually assisted by the copilots. And after that, they saw OpenAI launch the ChatGPT in the late December 2022, and after that, it just got the eyes of pretty much everyone. And after that, now we are in the era of copilots, and you will be seeing copilots getting added to each and every major product in the Microsoft ecosystem. There is a joke going around in the industry that if any product from Microsoft does not have Copilot with it, most likely that product is going to be deprecated soon, or it's going to die, like a sudden death soon. So all the major products have a Copilot with it. Some of the Copilots are free. For example, Power Platform Copilots are free. However, some of the Copilots you have to pay additional licensing fees. For example, you have to pay additional licensing fees to access Microsoft 365 Copilot or GitHub Copilot. Now, let's say you have to create your own custom Copilot because you have a really complicated business process, or you would like to, decrease the load that your internal teams has, such as HR or finance. Then you need to build a custom Copilot. And if you're working in the enterprise space or government space, these are some of the key features that your Copilot should have. It should have robust security. It should be able to scale based on the user load. It also should have integration with other line of business products and also other products that your company is using. It should have a nice reporting and dashboard. It should be user friendly to use. Let's say if you launching anything is one thing, but you also need to have tools so that you can properly administer what's been launched and how that application is getting used, and the errors and other stuff. And of course, maintenance also is one of the big chunk of time where you will be spending in any enterprise application. So if you have to create, a custom Copilot, then these are the various options that you have in Microsoft ecosystem. So we have two platforms. You can use Azure AI Studio, and it's a platform for building, evaluating, and deploying generative AI solutions and custom Copilot. The target audience for AI Studio is developers and infra and architects, whereas Copilot Studio is there, we can basically for extending copilots or creating your own. And the target audience for Copilot is pretty much everyone. It builds on, it's actually built on low code, no code paradigm, but even professional developers can also use that. However, just using the studios is not going to be enough. You would like to create an intelligent Copilot, and for that you need to use some AI services. So you can use some AI services off the shelf as part of Azure AI Service. If you would like to have generative AI capabilities, then you can use Azure Open AI Service, and you can also use Azure AI Content Safety. And depending on your choice of programming language and depending on what kind of studio you have used, you can either go with the prompt flow or semantic kernel. However, in this particular session, we'll be only focusing on Copilot Studio. So before we start about Copilot Studio, let's talk about Azure AI services and how those services are getting used across Microsoft's product suite. So the core AI services in Microsoft ecosystem are part of Azure AI. And if you have to create a custom machine learning model, or you have an open source model and you would like to deploy that, then the service that you will be using is called Azure Machine Learning. If you would like to consume the customizable AI models from Microsoft, where the model is already there, available to you, and you would like to customize its behavior by providing some sample data, then those are available under Azure AI Services. And we have vision, speech, language, decision, and recently they also added Azure OpenAI. If you are looking at scenario-based services, then we have bot service, Azure AI Search, document intelligence, video indexer, matrix advisor, and immersive reader. And the target audience for these services are developers and data scientists. However, this Azure AI services are also first party services. What does that mean is not only we as a customer can use it, but within Microsoft, other product groups are also using the same Azure AI services that we have access to. For example, if you are using Microsoft 365 Copilot, it's actually using some of the Azure AI services along with Azure OpenAI service behind the scene. If you are using Copilot Studio, it's actually using Azure OpenAI service and some related services behind the scene for it. Same is the case with AI Builder, which comes with the Power Platform, SharePoint Premium. Its former name is SharePoint Syntax. Is also built using some of the Azure AI services that you're seeing on the screen. So today in this talk, we'll be focusing on Copilot Studio and also be showing some demos like how we can use Azure AI, Azure OpenAI service with Copilot Studio. So Azure OpenAI services, what are those? So those are basically, most of you already know, but OpenAI, which is the creator of ChatGPT, they have a tight partnership with Microsoft. And as part of that Microsoft, all the major models that are available from OpenAI, such as GPT, which is behind ChatGPT, DALI, or Codex, those are also available to us as part of Azure. Okay, so basically we have now OpenAI trained models which are hosted in Azure. And since those are hosted in Azure, they have additional benefits that Azure brings onto the table. For example, we can use the enterprise grade security features that Azure has. For example, we can use managed identity, virtual networks, we can have private endpoints. We can do easy integration with other Azure services such as Azure AI Service, Azure Machine Learning, and also has some responsible AI built-in abuse monitoring and content filtering. And everything is available to us as part of Azure. So the pricing is based on the consumption. And we can consume this service through REST APIs, Python SDK, or we can also use a web-based interface called as Azure OpenAI Studio or Azure AI Studio. And these are some of the models are available right now, like some of the major models available. We have models for like GPT-4, which is the latest version in ChatGPT. We have GPT 3.5. We have embedding models. DALI is for image generation. And we also have Whisper, which can translate speech to text. And also, depending on where you provision your Azure OpenAI service, some of the models may or may not be available because there is a high dependency on the region over there. So in case you are interested, you have to, in accessing Azure OpenAI services, you have to submit a form from Microsoft site, and then you have to provide like why you need access. It goes through a waiting process, and if the request is genuine, then your Azure subscription will get whitelisted, and you can start using Azure OpenAI service. So what's the difference between using Azure OpenAI service versus directly going to a company like OpenAI, which has created, let's say, a ChatGPT? Because essentially we are using the same underlying services, like which is the GPT model, the DALI, the Codex. So when you use, let's say, the public version of ChatGPT, so OpenAI's entire infrastructure is actually hosted in Azure. So when you use the public version of ChatGPT, you're actually interacting with OpenAI's Azure subscription. Whereas when you use Azure OpenAI service, you'll basically have your service in your own dedicated subscription. And whatever interaction that you are having, the other customers in that particular Azure subscription, Azure tenant, will not have any, or in that particular Azure region will not have any kind of visibility. So your data will not leave your Azure subscription at all, and your data will not go to the OpenAI as well to train their base model as well. So before we start creating custom copilots, it's important to understand some of the basic concept that goes behind the ChatGPT. So GPT stand for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And if I had to visualize, like how exactly I can visualize, or how exactly I can think about creating a custom application using generative AI, such as using ChatGPT, whether it's a custom copilot or any other application I'm doing. So this is the best analogy I get is, so what OpenAI did is while training this GPT-4 model or 3.5 model is they went through the entire content that is available on the internet. That content can be available in the form of books, website, journal, Wikipedia entries, code entries, and they created this transformer model, and this transformer model is very good in terms of adaptation. So it can follow instructions, it can brainstorm ideas, it can extract content, it can classify content, it can translate content, it can also help you in answering the question. It can help you in code generation, code explanation, code debugging, code refactoring. So there are multiple use cases you can do using this large language model. However, the best analogy that I got in terms of clearing my concept, and also how start thinking about how I can use these services for some of the enterprise application is this one. So treat large language models or large language models like ChatGPT or GPT-4 as a really bright intern. Just consider a scenario where your boss come to you and say, hey, we have this tight deadline of 3 months. By the end of the summer, we had to launch this product. And to help you, I'm giving you 10 bright interns. Out of those 10 bright interns, 3 are really good C# developer, 4 are really good Python developer, and rest of the 3 are really good testers. Now, uh, all you have to do is just give them the instructions and they will do their job. However, since these interns are new to your organization, most likely they will not have any information about your own policies and procedures, and you have to basically tell them, you have to basically teach them. And whenever an intern write a code or create any kind of material, whether it's a document, design document, or it's a test plan, most likely you are not gonna use it without reviewing it. So that's why treat this large language models as a really bright intern and always have human in the loop. So that way, whatever the output is coming from the generative AI models, you should always, have a human in the loop who can basically verify the output. That's why the word Microsoft is using that word called Copilot for all the products that are supported by generative AI, and not the autopilot. Copilot means the user who's using that product is always in charge, and the user who's using that product is also responsible for using whatever the content that is getting generated by generative AI. So when it comes to creating UIs for custom copilots, you can go with multiple options, like, because at the end of the day, your custom copilot is another web application. So you can use, let's say, your traditional way of, ASP.NET Core web app. You can go with React or Angular app. You can also use Microsoft 65 Copilot extensibility model. However, for that, you need Microsoft 65 Copilot license. You can also use Microsoft Bot Framework, or you can use Copilot Studio, which whose earlier name is Power Virtual Agent. And you can also use other open source frameworks like Rasa as well. However, in this particular uh, session, we'll be focusing on Copilot Studio. So Copilot Studio is, built using a combination of services within Microsoft ecosystem. So it built using Microsoft Power Platform. It also built using some of the Azure AI services, and it's a standalone product that is available to us that we can use. And it has, a world-class user experience. Everything is drag and drop. There is also Copilot available for Copilot Studio. When it comes to implementing logic, you can use a low-code programming language called PowerFX. We can also use generative AI answers. We can use Power Automate directly from Copilot Studio. We can also bring your own a natural language like language model as well. And since we can use Power Automate directly within Copilot Studio, Power Automate support more than 1,000 connectors, and we can also create our own custom connectors as well. That means our Copilot can then talk to any service that is out there or the internet, as long as there is a connector available for it. It also has the support for voice and telephony as well. And this is like the behind the scene architecture. So these are the different channels that are there, where once I create a Copilot, I can access that Copilot. And what exactly channel means in Copilot Studio? So the channel in the context of Copilot Studio is different. They are not like your typical channel you get with Microsoft Teams. Channel means these are the different products or services where I just need to create a Copilot once and I can access that. For example, the same Copilot I can access on Microsoft 65 Copilot chat. I can also use in Teams chat. I can use on web, like a public facing website. I can use it on Zoom, Slack. And behind the scene, it is built on for security and permissions. It uses Microsoft Entra ID. It built using Azure bot services, and also use a lot of Azure AI services such as Azure OpenAI and Azure AI Search for generative answers. It also has a really good integration with Dynamics 65, and also you can directly call uh, Power Automate from Copilot Studio, and you can also do a direct web service call using connectors, and we can also make an HTTP a request as well. And everything you do with Copilot Studio, whatever Copilot you create, actually gets stored in your Microsoft Dataverse environment. All right. So without further ado, what I will do is I will be covering few concept, and then we'll just start right into the demos and start creating those. For example, these are some of the key terms that you need to be aware of when it comes to using Copilot Studio. The first is the topics. So topics represent conversation flow roadmap based on the different needs. So you can have different topics for different you can have different topics for different needs. For example, I can have a topic for HR, I can have a topic for IT, I can have a topic for finance. I see a question in the chat. Does our organization need to purchase Dataverse to use Copilot? So when you sign up for Copilot, let's say your organization is not using Power Platform at all, and you just sign up for the license for Copilot Studio, behind the scene, Microsoft will provision a Dataverse environment for you. Okay, so you don't have to purchase that separately. However, depending on your licensing, there will be some capacity constraint that you have with Dataverse, and then we can always chat offline about that. Then the next context key term is entities. So basically, the entire goal of using Copilot Studio is basically mimicking the human conversation. And the entities basically help us to translate data supplied in the form of text or voice and extract it into something that easily consume in the bot. Then you'll have nodes to, for different logics. You can use variables, you can have synonyms, and you can also have trigger for various topics. Like for example, we can have entities for a date. We can have entities for uh, amount, and also you can create the custom entities as well. And when it comes to the language, so it has already a natural, like inbuilt a natural language understanding or NLU along with it. But let's say for some reason you're not happy with the out of the box natural language understanding that comes with Copilot Studio. You can also use your own customized language understanding if you have access to Azure. Okay, so without further ado, let me quickly go ahead and start showing you the demos of the Copilot Studio. And for uh, the subtitles to be visible, what I'll do is, okay, so the first thing first is you can go to the Copilot studio.microsoft.com, and you can sign up for the trial as well. Okay. And once you sign in, and if you have appropriate license, if you don't have license, it will ask you to, sign up for trial. And right now, Microsoft is gracious enough to allow us to, sign up for the trial. And this is, you will go to the home page. And if I click on the left-hand navigation, I can see all the custom copilots that have already created. Now let me go ahead and click on creating a new copilot. And this is where I'll be calling it as BSP UG Copilot 01. And then if you have to specify what language you want your Copilot to speak to. So there are a lot of languages supports are there, and a few languages are available in preview as well. So I'll be going with the English. And you can also add support for additional languages without writing a single line of code as well. And then this option is for, setting up your generative AI. We are not going to do that right now. We'll do that using different options. And if I click on edit advanced options, this is where, I can select the icon for my Copilot. I can also, specify the Dataverse environment where exactly it will go. And also I can specify Uh, I can also, if I had to enable voice capabilities, I can do here as well. So right now, I'm just going to go and click create. So it takes me maybe a minute or two for everything to get set up behind the scene, and your Copilot will be ready. The custom Copilot we created will be ready, and then we can start using it. And while it's creating a lot of stuff, we can. I will show you the different options that are coming behind the scene. All right, our Copilot is getting a setup. And these are the various things that you see on the screen. For example, if you would like to set up generative AI, you can start directly from this screen, or you can also use some of the options available in the left-hand navigation. You can also see, like, how to create custom topics, extend your Microsoft Copilot with conversational plugins, and you can scroll down and you can see some documentation around that. The test Copilot, this is the option, this is the UI you can use to test your Copilot while you're creating it. And you can always hide this by clicking on hide Copilot here. And if I click on the topic, so these are some of the topics which will already be there whenever you create a brand new Copilot. These are the they call it a regular topic, and there will be some system topics as well, which will already be there for you. For example, conversation start, end of conversation, escalation, fallback, those kind of things. And you can also create a new topic as well. And while creating a new topic, you can start from blank, or you can create using the Copilot that is there with Copilot Studio. Then there are some actions available which are under preview. We are not going to be talking about that today. Entities, these are some of the out of the box entities that you have, but you can create the new custom entities as well. When it comes to the analytics, since everything is getting stored in the Dataverse environment, the tool already have a really nice analytics available to you in the form of uh, Power BI reports. And here you can see all the reports in terms of customer satisfaction, the number of sessions, the billing, and all the stuff. And if you expand the settings, this is where you'll see a lot of options. For example, if I go to the Copilot details, this is where I can come and give like update the name of the Copilot or change the icon. Because once you created Copilot, you can change its name because under the hood it will have a specific ID. And that is going to be its a unique identifier. Then if we click on AI integration tool, this is where you can either use Copilot SDK to add some pro code capabilities, or you can also use some AI models from Azure OpenAI, or you can also use Azure Cognitive Service for a language as well. If you go to generative AI, that's where you can start adding support for some of the generative AI capabilities, and we'll be covering that in the demos. If you go to channels, so these are some of the channels which will be available to you. And if you look at here, some of the channels are grayed out. The reason for that I will be explaining you in few minutes. But if your settings are right, then these are some of the out of the box channels that you can use. That means I create a Copilot once, this custom Copilot, and I can use it on a public facing website, on a mobile app, on Slack, or direct line speech, or email. If I click on the security, this is where you go and basically share this Copilot with other users so that they can also start making changes to it. You can configure the settings for the authentication. And by default, when you create a Copilot these days, it is setting by default as authenticate with Microsoft. Or you can go with no authentication, or you can also set authenticate manually as well. Depending on your use case, you can use one over the other. So for our use case, I'll be going with no authentication right now because I would like to use this Copilot on a public facing a website. Okay. The next thing, then under let's go to the languages. So here we have added English language, but I want to quickly add the support for other language as well. From the audience, does anyone speak any other language apart from English? So we can quickly use that language, add the support for that language, and also verify the output that is coming from the Copilots. Anyone? Okay. If not, I will be going with. let's see. I'll be going with Hindi because I can understand this language, and whatever the output that is getting generated, I can verify that output. All right. So now let's go one thing. What I'll do is I would like to quickly publish this so that this particular Copilot will be getting published. And once it is published, I will show you the right-hand section, where in the right-hand section, you will see in which particular Dataverse environment this Copilot is getting deployed. All right. So if you see here, so this is the environment where this Copilot is currently getting deployed. And if I click on the settings, so this, if you have used Power Platform before, this UI may look familiar to you because even though this product is now a standalone product, it is still very much integrated with the Power Platform. Now, what I would like to do next is I would like to add support for generative AI here. And for that, first thing I need to do is I need to go down and I need to, enable this particular option. So the first thing I would like to enable is boost conversational coverage with generative AI answer. So once I do that, then here I can provide some instructions. So these instructions will be similar to the instruction that we typically provide with the ChatGPT, or if you have created the GPTs before, or if you have used Azure OpenAI service, these are more like a system prompt that you can specify. So let's add you are an AI agent that helps people find information. Very basic, generic instruction. Okay. And the next thing I would like to do is I would like to use a public facing website. And using that public facing website, I would like to create a custom Copilot. For example, I would like to try something which I never done this before is let's we like Shadid is using this meetup site for this particular event, and a lot of this information is publicly available. So what I'll do is I'll basically add this particular URL here, which is Baltimore SharePoint on meetup site, and add it. Okay. And save it. And now what I would like to do the testing is I would like to ask this Copilot, let me go ahead and publish this. I would like to go and add this Copilot, ask this Copilot some questions around the Baltimore SharePoint user group. And I would like to see whether while giving the information about Baltimore SharePoint user group, whether it's actually giving me the information from the meetup site or not. Again, I never did this demo with the meetup site, so I'm not sure whether it's going to work or not. If it doesn't work, I will always find another site where I know it's definitely works. So just bear with me. Once it's published, we will basically start the demo. Okay, so now let's ask uh, what is Baltimore SharePoint user group? Okay, and let's see if it works or not. All right, perfect. It worked like a charm. Okay, the Baltimore SharePoint user group is a community group focused providing on .NET and SharePoint, and let's see where this information is coming from. So if you see, if I click on this link, these links are actually pointing to our meetup page. So that means the things are working. Now let me ask a little bit a complicated question. One is, where are the monthly meetings are hosted? Okay. Let's see if it's able to find that information. Perfect. Wow, it's coming back with, okay, the meetings are hosted at Pro Object Building, and these are some of the references from where this information is coming from. So imagine you have, like, if you would like to launch on Copilot and your information is already available to you in a public facing website, you can do that very easily without writing a single line of code. Whatever I showed you, let's say in the context of Copilot Studio. Now let's go to the channels. And what I would like to do is I would like to show like how I can then, use this on outside of Copilot Studio. So here There's a demo website that is available. I can use where I have built my Copilot. I just want to use some. I would like my other team members to use it and test it. So where a let's say like when is the next meeting of Baltimore SharePoint user group, right? Let's see if the information comes back or not. All right. So it's actually coming back the date as today's. Okay. So the today's date is this, and this is where, it is coming from. Similarly, I can deploy or I can access this Copilot on other supported channels as well. So here I would like to pause and see if anyone has any questions or comments.
Uh,
So,
yes. How just to take a step back, how does requirements gathering change for co-pilots compared to other solutions that you've built throughout your career? Like, do you go about it differently, knowing that AI is something that you may have to train?
mhm.
Take us into some how you approach requirements.
Okay, that's an excellent question. So the question is around if I had to build a custom Copilot, how I go about gathering the requirements. So my answer will be just treat your custom Copilot as any other application that you're building. And the principle that goes with, let's say, building a .NET-based application, a web-based application, a mobile application, or a SharePoint intranet are the same principles that you have to follow. Is first is what is the use case I'm trying to solve. Then what kind of UX I'm looking at, what kind of scenarios that I would like to support. Another biggest thing that you have to consider is since now with the concept of Copilot, you're basically allowing users to interact with your app via a chat window, and that means you have to think start thinking about how I will build an application where my only interaction with my user is going to a chat window and not, let's say, a website or a mobile app. That means you had to do a really great job in terms of thinking about the UX, and that's where this tool has a lot of options available to you. Like you can have different topics depending on what kind of scenarios you would like to support. For example, I can have topic for HR, finance, and let me show you the example of this particular sample topic that is available. So let's say I have this topic, and this topic is related to buying a specific product on my public facing website. Then let's say if users say I want to buy items, then this is a standard response, and I can customize this. I'm happy to help you with the placed order, what state you will be shipping. So some questions related to the shipping, and we are storing that in a entity called state. And if the state is California or Washington and Oregon, then I'll be using a separate logic. If the state is any other, then I'll be using a separate logic, and I'll be adding some additional uh, questions to the bot and to the user. And once all the questions are provided, then I'll be helping the user to place the order here. I hope that answer your question. Okay. So the question from Gavin is, what are some of the premium features in Copilot versus standard feature? Yes, generative AI is a premium feature. There are also some other premium features such as adding the support for voice, doing a live handoff between your Copilot to a live agent. Those kind of are some of the premium features that are available. So when it comes to going back to the generative AI, so providing the publicly available website is one thing, but we also have support for providing a SharePoint site. For example, if you would like to build an Copilot for your HR department, and let's say HR department has a lot of information in a SharePoint site, you can use the URL of that SharePoint site. However, one caveat that you have to remember is when you use a SharePoint site, you have your bot, as far as the authentication is concerned for your bot, your bot has to have, like if I go to the security, then I will have to go and I had to turn on the authentication with Microsoft. Okay. And when I do that, then there will be very few channels that will be supported, or I had to set up authentication manually, where I had to go here and then specify Azure Active Directory, and I had to register an app in Azure AD and then use that app for the authentication. Okay. Now let's go to the generative AI. So one option is providing publicly available website. Second option is using SharePoint site. You can also upload the documents as well directly inside this Copilot, and you will get the generative answer from that as well. So when you upload a document, the document gets uploaded to a Dataverse table that is there in that particular Dataverse environment. And when you use let's say a public facing website, what exactly happens is when you ask for any information, the copilots basically will go to Bing search and get the relevant information from the URL that you have provided, and then use that information to provide the answer. When you use a SharePoint site, the Copilot will basically go to the SharePoint search index and then apply the security trimming. Like, let's say if I don't have access to any specific document, I will not be getting that document. And then whatever the results coming from SharePoint search, then we'll get add some additional grounding based on the question user has asked, and then the information will get displayed to the user. When it comes to uploading the files, it basically does the search against the Dataverse document, and then whatever information is there, then it will show to the user there. Let's say you don't want to go with any of this out of the box option. You also have option like whenever you enable generative AI, if you go to the topics, it will automatically add additional topic called conversational boosting. And here you also have option of, if you click on edit data source. So right now we are using this, but we can also use, let's say, a SharePoint site, or I can also use Azure OpenAI service or own data and add that as well. For example, I can use the combination of Azure AI search and also Azure OpenAI service on my own data. And then that way, it is getting answers, but getting answers from my own organization data. And that data can be in the SQL table, it can be in blob storage, or it can be in Cosmos DB, or any other supported data source that Azure AI Search supports over there. So what I would like to do in the next uh, 5 to 10 minutes is some of the uh, okay. So these are some of the options that we have when it comes to using generative answers. Like you can use publicly available data via URLs. We can use SharePoint. We can use Azure OpenAI on your own data. We can also use uploaded documents. Or we can also use custom data as well. So in the next 5 minutes, what I would like to do is I would like to show you some of uh, like op- some of like specific feature. Let's say if I go with generative AI answers with the public website. So what are some of the key things that you get with it? So when it comes to ease of development, it's yes. Whether you have control over the answer, no, because it's out of the box feature that is available. You have to rely on the service that like what kind of answers it will provide and what kind of control you'll have. Very limited. You don't have any flexibility with which model you will be using. You don't need any Azure subscription. Yes, you need Copilot Studio license. And it can do integration with other communications tools such as any supported channels from Copilot Studio. You can have citations, chat history. There is no out-of-the-box support, and security trimming is also no. When you go to the upload document, so everything is yes, and like ease of development is yes. Security trimming is no, and you need the Copilot Studio license. If you go with SharePoint Online, which is the most popular option available, where yes, there is a ease of development, you need Copilot Studio license. However, the results that the user will see will be security trimmed. For example, if I provide the URL of a SharePoint Online site collection, and inside the SharePoint Online site collection, there are like 10 document libraries, and I don't have access to one of those document libraries. So when I ask a question, the answers will not have any information from that particular document library where I don't have any access at all. Uh, then you can also go, one level up where you use generative AI answers using Azure OpenAI service. However, for the UI, you are not using Copilot Studio, but you're using a SharePoint framework web part. If you go with that option, then you don't need the additional license for Copilot Studio. However, with this approach, the experience is going to be limited to the SharePoint Online. So the most uh, popular or most powerful is going to be using Copilot Studio along with Azure OpenAI service with your own data, where you have the most flexibility. Uh, you need to use some custom code over here. However, you have full control over the answers. You have flexibility over the models. Via Azure OpenAI service, you can either use the GPT 3.5 or GPT-4, and there are multiple versions available in GPT-4 as well. Since you are going to use Azure OpenAI service, you need Azure subscription. You also need a Copilot Studio license. You'll be having a citation, and the results will be the security team as well. So highly recommend you to follow some of the documentation that is available here. And you can also try Copilot Studio for free. But definitely play with this product because creating custom Copilot with this product is very easy to begin with. And you can also add additional complexity to it. So when it comes to adding additional complexity, what I will do is I just quickly want to create a new topic, and I'll go from blank. And here, if I click on add a node, so there are many options available. I can show a message to the user. I can ask the question to a user. I can also ask the question with an adaptive card. I can also, do call an action and call another flow. Or if I go to the advanced, I can use generative answers action. I can also send a HTTP request directly from the Copilot. I can also log a custom telemetry event. I can send an event, send an activity, and I can also ask for authentication as well. So with that, I think we have come to the end of this talk. I know there are a lot many things that we can cover, but the time is essence here. So what I would like to do is pause here and address any questions that you may have in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Again, I'll be going back to the resources. So definitely, bookmark this slide. There are a lot of good resources on this slide over here.
Um, how long is the trial
Okay.
that you yes.
So the trial typically is valid for 1 month. And after that, so far, Microsoft is gracious enough to extend the trial for another month as well. However, most likely uh, it will stop at some point. But right now, yes, you can use trial. And also, since this product is available to as a SaaS product, in your trial period, you are expected to not use as a production application. But let's say if Microsoft finds out that even with the trial period you're using as a production application, they may, have the full rights to block that particular Copilot. In case you would like to have your own sandbox environment where you would like to try everything, there is a program available from Microsoft called Microsoft 65 Developer Program. Its requirements has changed now. So if you have an existing MSDN license, MSDN Enterprise or MSDN Standard, then you can get a personal Microsoft 65 developer tenant for free. And that tenant will come with 25 users, and each user will have E5 license. And using that tenant, you can always sign up for, the trial for the Copilot Studio. In case you're interested in learning about Azure OpenAI service and you need your personal Azure subscription, these are the various ways where you can get your personal Azure subscription. My personal favorite is getting Azure subscription via MSDN. If you have access to MSDN, either enterprise or standard, you get some fixed credits for free without using a credit card. These are my contact details. If you have any follow-up questions, and let me know if you have any additional questions apart from the licensing, Shadid.
Yes, it was one final question, and that was for let's say taking this solution back to work. There's a small work center, and they want to use the solution in a dev instance. So let's say a test or standalone. Do you
Mhm.
think that the trial will work in that particular case?
Yes. Yes, the trial will work for like so basically the license trial is available so that you can try out and see whether it really works in your use case or not. However, before you launch into the production, you'll definitely need a production license for that. And I don't know how long you can keep using trial for your dev as well, because uh, eventually, most likely after a couple of months, you will not be able to use trial licenses for your developers as well, like developing a new copilots.
Okay, those are the
Mhm.
questions. Gavin says, thank you so much for your excellent overview and presentation. I learned a lot.
Thank you, Gavin.
Okay. If there are no further questions, thank you, Prashant, for delivering such a great session. One thing I like about your sessions is that you provide the platforms in order to test it out yourself, as opposed to just delivering the solutions. So that's always helpful.
Thank you, Shadid, and thanks for the opportunity. And hopefully, this year we'll be able to meet and also have the in-person community events.
That is, yeah, I would definitely need to follow up with you on that.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing now. Uh, okay, the sharing has stopped. Are there any additional questions or we are good?
Uh, Everything is good to go. Going to wrap up for this particular session. And stay tuned next month for another informative session based on Microsoft technology. On behalf of Prashant, thank you for tuning in and supporting Baltimore SharePoint. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.